G'day guys, Will here. Today I'm going to be showing you exactly how to change the oil in your car or truck. This video is going to be for complete beginners who have never been taught or shown how to change the oil in their car. And so this video should cover everything that you need to know. So to begin with, let's start with what kind of tools you're going to need to carry out an oil change. To begin with, you're going to need a socket set, a breaker bar just in case the oil drain pan plug is tight, an oil catch can and funnel to fill the engine up with oil again, as well as a set of pliers just in case the oil filter is over tightened, and some gloves to protect your hands from the oil because it's not good for your skin. In addition to this, you'll need some wipes just in case the oil spills, as well as some new engine oil and an oil filter. I'll be showing you later in the video just exactly what kind of oil and filter you're going to need for your vehicle.
In addition to tools, you're going to need something to jack your vehicle up. In this case, I've got a trolley jack and 2 jack stands to support the vehicle once it's raised, and 2 blocks of wood just to support the wheels to make sure that the car can't move backwards. I just wanted to mention too that all the tools, consumables, oil filter, and the trolley and jack stands, if you don't have any of those things, I'll be leaving a link in the description today so that you can go and find them for yourself. And as always, if you have any questions, please leave comments down below and I'll be sure to answer any questions that you have.
We're now in our local auto parts store, and here is an oil catalog in the parts store to figure out what sort of oil we need. So first, start off with the make of your car, which is a Mazda in this case, the model, which is BT50, and the year model, which is 2011. It gives you a few options. Mine's a diesel 2.5 litre, so I select that, and it gives you the amount of oil that you're going to need, which is 7 litres in this case, and the viscosity, which is 10W40. So I've got to find it over on the shelf. You can see there's a bunch of different types of oil on the shelf there, but we're looking for the 10W40 semi-synthetic oil. And here it is over here, 7 litres exactly, which is what we need. So we'll grab that one and head on to finding our oil filter. So now we're over at the catalog for the oil filters, and you've got to select your make of vehicle again, which is a Mazda, the model, BT50, and the year model, which is 2011. Once you've selected that, it comes up with the type of engine model, which is 2.5 litre diesel, and select oil filter. And it comes up with the part number that we need, which is a Z632, and it's a Ryco type filter. So we go over to the shelf, find Z632, there it is there, and that's the one we need. We're also going to get some brake and parts cleaner, which is great for cleaning up any oil spills. Next up, we're going to grab some black nitrile gloves. These are great for keeping your hands protected from the engine oil, and it's a good idea to grab just a small packet of these to protect your hands. Next up is some shop wipes. These are great for cleaning up oil off your tools or off any spillage you have on the ground. Obviously you don't need this many, but they're a good idea to have. When draining oil, you also need to replace the washer for the drain plug. These grab kits are available from auto stores as well, and I recommend you get one.
So after you've switched the engine off, make sure to put it into gear and pull on the park brake to make sure it's secure. After doing that, find the bonnet latch for your car and pull it. Come around to the front of the car. There'll be a latch under the front of the bonnet, so just feel underneath with your hand until you find it, and then push it up, and some also slide left or right. So on this one you have to push it up, and then with your other hand pull up the bonnet. Most cars will have a bonnet stay. This one's on the front. Unclip it, and then there'll be a hole to locate it under the bonnet. In this case, it's up the top there. Make sure that's locked in before you start working on the car. Okay, so now that we have the correct viscosity oil, 10W40, and the right filter, we're going to go ahead and raise the vehicle using the jack and secure it on stands. If you're unsure where to jack the vehicle up from, if you open your owner's manual, it will actually tell you in the section that explains how to change a tyre. You can notice here it's got at the front of the vehicle, just under the chassis, and that's where we're going to jack it up from. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is block off the rear tyre. so that the vehicle can't roll back.
To operate a trolley jack, first position it under the vehicle, then position the saddle under the jacking point. If you're not sure, just check your owner's manual. Then turn the release valve screw clockwise to the raise position. Then pull up and down on the jack lever to raise the vehicle. When it's at the correct height, turn the release valve screw counterclockwise to lower it down onto stands.
Make sure that you put the jack stand under the chassis so that it's nice and secure. And then let the jack down onto the stand. And now do the same for the other side. If your jack stand has these interlocking pins, make sure that you put a clip through the pin to make sure that it can't come back out. After securing on stands, just for some extra protection, I like to put the jack back under the chassis just in case anything fails. It's like an added level of protection. Once you have the vehicle up on stands, what you want to do then is give it a shake side to side. That makes sure that it's stable and it's safe to go under the vehicle. As you can see, with it jacked up, you have a heap of room underneath so that you can access
The engine oil drain plug. Alright, so now let's go onto the front of the car and find where we need to drain the oil from.
Okay, so now we're under the front of the vehicle, and as you can see, my feet are sticking out the front of the car there. And when you're under here, you want to look for the oil drain pan. Usually it's black in color and it's round and sticking down from underneath the engine. In this case, the oil drain pan's pretty easy to find. It's just this one here. But on other cars, you might see another drain pan that looks similar to this, and that'll be for an automatic transmission. Now, usually the difference is that you can see this drain plug here in the bottom of the oil drain pan. The automatic transmission ones won't actually have an oil drain plug. If you move back here too, you can see just up there is the oil filter for the engine. On each engine, the oil filters are normally located in different places, but for this Mazda B250 Ute, the oil filter is just behind the engine oil pan, as you can see there. Now, before you undo your oil drain plug, what you want to do is get your drain pan and slide it under. Okay, so now you want to position the oil catch can underneath the oil drain pan up here. So this is your drain plug, and generally when you take the plug out, the oil is going to go this way. So you want to make sure that your catch can is a little bit back from where the oil pan is. Okay, so we've now got a 19mm socket, because that's what size the oil drain plug is, and a 1/2-inch ratchet. So you just want to put your socket onto your ratchet and make sure that it's switched so that it's undoing. So pulling to the right is undoing, pulling to the left is tightening up. So make sure it's switched to the right, and put it on your plug and pull towards you, which is pulling to the right, undoing. Now, it might be super tight, and if it is, just grab the 1/2-inch breaker bar, which I showed you in the start of the video, put your socket on the end, and it will give you a lot more leverage than the smaller ratchet to crack it. There we go. Once you've undone the drain plug, slowly undo it with your fingers. Just undoing the plug on the catch can so the oil can go in. see. And undo the plug all the way until the oil comes out. This is the drain plug, and as you can see there's a washer on the end of it. It's a good idea to replace this washer with a new one before you put it back into the drain pan. Sometimes they can be really tight, so you might need a pair of pliers to kind of squish them up a bit before trying to remove it. And if you grab onto the washer and spin the plug, that can be a good way to get it off. So I just got an assortment here. One should fit. So when you're fitting a new washer, make sure that it just fits over the threads like that. And that's a good fit for it. If you put one on that's too big like this, it's not going to seal properly. Or even this one. As you can see, there's a big gap there between the threads and the end of the plug. What you want is a nice tight fit over the threads, and it should sit under the head of the drain plug, and that will make sure that it forms a nice seal. Okay, so once the oil's finished draining from the drain pan, just grab some towel and give the hole a bit of a wipe. And grab your sump drain plug with the new washer on it and fit it back into the hole. So to get started, generally just push it in, make sure it's square, and you'll feel it start on the threads. Making sure that the washer's still on there when it started. Tighten it all the way down by hand, and then grab your ratchet with your 19mm socket and switch it back over so that it's tightening. So the correct way is, if you're pushing to the left, going clockwise, that's the correct way to tighten it up. So put it over the plug, tighten it, and when you feel it stop, just give it a little bit more just so it's snug. You don't want to over tighten it, so just make sure it's home and snug, and that's tight enough.
Okay, so now it's time to remove the oil filter, and we're going to try first to undo it by hand, and if we can't, if it's too tight like this one is, we're going to have to get the multi-grips.
So adjust your multi-grips. In this case, these ones have a button to move it in and out to get to the right spot. So just make them similar size to the actual oil filter, and then put them around, squeeze them with your hands. And as you're squeezing them, rotate the filter counterclockwise. In this case, it's back towards the rear of the vehicle, or turning it towards the left. So I'm squeezing it.
This filter was pretty tight. It took quite a few goes with the pliers, but once you feel it come a lot looser, you can then unscrew it by hand.
Now, as you can see, after I've pulled off the oil filter, the gasket from the oil filter is still stuck onto the housing. Make sure when you pull off the oil filter that you also pull off this gasket. Because if you don't pull the gasket off and put on the new oil filter, it'll leak oil. Okay, once you've removed your old oil filter, grab the new one out of the box. And it's generally a good idea if you write the kilometers and the date that you replaced the oil filter. So just grab a black Sharpie and write the kilometers off the odometer onto the oil filter. Make sure you remove the plastic off the new filter. And as you can see, there's a rubber gasket that sits on the top of the oil filter. Make sure you get some fresh engine oil out of the new oil that you bought. And just dip your finger into the oil, like so. And then get your new oil filter and just coat the gasket with the clean engine oil before you put it back on. Okay, now get your oil filter and put it onto the bolt that you can see sticking out of the engine. So just line the hole up with the bolt and then start it turning it clockwise and keep screwing it till it goes all the way home, just with your hand. And when you feel it stop, just give it a few extra turns and only make it hand tight. Don't use a tool to do it up. Okay, so next grab your engine oil, and in this case, this engine oil drum actually comes with a funnel. Now on the top of the engine there will be a cap, an engine oil cap. Before removing the oil cap, there is a lot of dirt that accumulates around it, so make sure that you give it a good clean so that no dirt falls down into the engine. And to undo it, screw it counterclockwise. And you can tell it's the engine oil cap because on the front of the cap there, it has an oil can. So make sure that the cap that you undo has that symbol. On the side of this engine oil drum, you'll notice that there's notches. And because this holds 10 litres, each one of these notches is 2 litres. So 2, 4, 6, 8, and then 10's at the top. So I'm going to put 3 notches worth and then just half to make it 7 litres. If your oil drum doesn't come with a funnel already attached, you can grab one like this and just pop it into the top.
When pouring in the oil, if you tilt the oil drum on the side, the oil will come out a lot easier and won't be all gluggy. That's because the air is allowed to get into the oil container and it will come out a lot easier.
Once you're done filling the engine oil up, remove the funnel, use the rag to stop the engine oil dripping, and grab your oil cap and just screw it back down. Again, only needs to be hand tight. Now jack the vehicle up until there's no pressure left on the stand. Remove the stand and slowly let the jack down. Jack the other side up. Remove the stand and let it down slowly.
The reason we're jacking the vehicle up and putting it back down on the ground is we want the engine to be level so that we get a true reading when we check the oil before starting it up.
Now before starting the engine, we want to check the engine oil, and normally the dipstick to check the oil is a yellow color, which is just here. So we remove it, wipe it clean, and then put it back in to check the level. As you can see on the dipstick, there's an L for low and F
for full.
You want the oil level to be right on the F mark. So in this case, we're going to have to top it up just a little bit more. After you finish filling up the oil, make sure and put the dipstick back in the dipstick tube. Remove the funnel. Put your oil cap back on. Turning it clockwise until it's just snug. And you're ready to start the engine. Make sure to put it back into neutral. While it's running, just have a look underneath to make sure there's no oil leaks. And let it run for about 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, so once the engine's been running for 5 minutes, switch off the engine and let it cool down for 10 minutes and recheck the engine oil level. So wipe off the dipstick with a towel and recheck it. Push it all the way down till it stops, pull it out again. And this is sitting right on the full mark, so we don't need to add any extra oil. If you do add too much oil, 500 mils or so isn't too bad, but anything over that could cause engine damage from leaky seals and other things. So make sure that if it is over full, to drain some out by pulling out the drain plug for a second or two and putting it back in until it's the right level. And don't forget to pull out the wheel chocks after you've finished. If your oil drum came with a service sticker like this one did, you can write on the service sticker when the oil is next due to be changed, and in this case it's next due at 96,000 or in 3 months, which is going to be March 2020. The product used is the type of oil, so it'll be 10W40, and you can even write when the registration is next due. So in this case it'll be 6 months, so that will be June 2020. And then it's just a matter of putting it onto your windscreen. Then just get a bit of window cleaner and some of that shop towel and clean the area where you're going to put the service sticker. So that's how you change oil in your car or truck. If you have any questions about any of the things covered in this video, just leave them down below and I'll make sure and answer them. If this is the first time you change the engine oil in your car, make sure to let me know as well down below. I love to hear that stuff. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned for more videos in the future. Any of the tools that I used and consumables, as well as the jack and jack stands, I'll leave a link to them down below in the description, along with other videos that I've made, and you can check them out there as well. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Last but not least, make sure that you dispose of your oil and filter responsibly by either taking it down to your local mechanic or to a waste oil facility.